Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson here. We are back with the latest episode of 60 Minutes to Six Figures. I'm kicking it off today because we're on a whole new platform and we're broadcasting right into the Get a Real Estate Life community here on Facebook. So we're very excited for you to join us. We're talking about business planning for the chaotic or unorganized agent, which is a great headline, Jenny, because it just sounds to me like it should have been business planning for every agent.
Yes, I know my peeps, right?
You do.
The best agents are
Yes. The
chaotic.
busy,
And
the ones that are busy and doing business.
yes, and Matt, you know that I only want people focused on what really matters and not to beat themselves up over things that one, they can't control, and two, when they're already crushing it, then there's no need to say, oh, I need to be more organized or I need to be this, because really what they're saying is, or what you're saying, or people in general are saying is, I just want to feel like on top of things
Right.
and not, scattered and battered like we put in that email.
Scattered and battered.
Well, chaotic and you're all over the place and juggling, so many hats and so many balls up in the air because you have your phone that's constantly ringing, prospects and leads coming in. And of course, some of that may fall through the cracks. Um, then you start feeling like, hey, I'm not doing my clients a good service. I'm missing out on business. And I think that's really uh, where kind of want to start today is, forgive yourself. Hey, and how can we make sure we capitalize on everything that is, coming into you already and converting that business and staying focused on what's important. And like I said in the email also, and forget everything else.
Yeah.
Uh, too many systems thrown at you and things you need to buy and do and it's just crazy. It's chaotic. So it's really, let's just simplify, do the things that you're already good at doing and just do more of them.
Hmm.
So are you ready for this?
I am. Greg Harrelson would call that optimizing what's already working for you, your primary thing, which I love. Before you set off and tend to add three or four more things to your business, which is what we get thrown at all the time. We have a shiny object syndrome, which I would never suffer from. I have no idea what you're talking about,
I
but
know, new platform.
mhm. Well, that is just keeping up with technology. I am forced to do that.
I know. I'm just teasing. We had to figure out a new way to reach our audience because our hangouts were going away. So Matt has to do that research and stay on top of things. And thank goodness, I just listen and do whatever he tells me to do. So let's let's kind of go through and talk about what's most important in business planning because it doesn't take a long time to get organized as far as that's concerned. Because let's just face it, if you're not organized today, nothing I am going to say on this call is going to get you organized. You're probably just not an organizational person. So you're going to have to, if it's low on your hierarchy, like if you've done a disc profile and, organization is on the bottom for me. And I just had to years ago say, okay, give it up, either hire somebody to keep you organized or just say, I'm not that organized, but I'm highly productive. And
Yeah.
again, shoot for where you are or live in that space where you are already doing well and say, great, I might not be organized, but you know what, I can convert more business than anyone. I know how to get my phone to ring better than anyone else.
Yeah.
So let's talk about kind of where we want to start, Matt, like with income. Now
Okay.
you talk with people all the time. What's a common income that agents throw out at you that, is a big goal for them?
Oh, it's come on. It's always 100 grand a year. It's always, always, always.
A minimum, right?
Yeah. Now maybe not here in San Diego. Then they're into the man. I'd like to actually be able to send my kids to a school. I better bump that up to about 300 a year.
Well, and of course, I was going to say at 100, they're still, eating at McDonald's every other meal. So
Yeah.
totally get that. We have to, scale to where the incomes and expenses change across the country. So, but you're right. Normally, people will say, I want to earn at least $100,000. just because, either that you're giving up other opportunities for a salary and, hey, you want a little bit of income, an income increase, and you want some freedom as well. And it's totally fine. If you want to earn $500,000, you can earn $500,000. We just want to have those metrics put into place. So at $150,000 average sales price, you're looking at, doing 4 buyer consultations a week, or 4 listing presentations, or a combination of 4 every single week. And that's going to actually be the thing that determines and guarantees your income for the whole year. So that part is easy, right? We just made that very, very easy. If you want to do 500,000, then it's 7 new client appointments. And I just saved you years of research right there. And if you don't already have our 1-page business plan, then email me and I'm happy to get that to you. I'll email it out to you today so that you can fill it in. It just simplifies everything. Because after we know, where we need to be as far as, appointments on our calendar, because if it's not on our calendar, then there's no need to be organized, because you're not going to have any business anyway. All important productive stuff goes on the calendar, right?
It's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist.
That's right.
That goes for dates too.
It goes with everything. We were just chatting while he was setting everything up. Well, I was just listening. I only asked a question. You don't disturb the master when he's in his mode. But he was saying, I only had just a few minutes between this and that and this and that, and it's all scheduled and it's all on his calendar, which for any of us, you can read our calendars and know what kind of income is coming. It somehow tells the future, right?
Yeah.
You know what paychecks are coming.
Yeah.
And if it's not with new business, then, or, those opportunities for new business, then you're probably going to be counting quarters to pay for your next meal. So.
Yeah, and I was having this conversation with a couple of partners on the real estate side and debating on whether where they put their time in the new year. And so I just asked them one simple question, like they wanted to get more involved in the business, this side of the business, right? So I said, is it on the income generation side or on the income servicing side? Because it's very, very easy to say, well, this needs to be done, this needs to be done, and this needs to be done. But then when you look at it, you realize, oh, that's all income servicing. That doesn't make anybody any money.
No. It just takes care of what you already have.
Mm-hmm. And most of the time, it's the lowest paid, lowest value work out of the entire transaction.
Right, because there's normally people in your world that can do a much better job than what you do on fulfilling a lot of those tasks that take care of your clients. Much better than we can. So you really kind of need to make a list of, what your service offering is and what your clients expect, and see, 1 or 2 things that you can do, because you as a business owner need to be getting new, fresh business at all times, every single week, or it's going to flatline, or you're going to have those peaks and valleys. And I think that's probably the biggest complaint that I hear as a real estate coach is, oh my gosh, I did great this month, but I have nothing next month. And I'm doing great the next month.
Yeah.
For instance, I have a client that he's closing 10 this month, which is fantastic. But, there's nothing that's pending for January. And, we've got to make sure that stays consistent. And the way that you do that is by staying focused on bringing that new business in. Mm-hmm. Having those buyer consultations.
Yeah, and I love how you broke that down, because and I was talking about this. One of the previous calls this morning was with a friend of mine who's a high-level recruiting coach, and we're talking about the concept of absolute commitment to sufficient minimums. Most people have no idea what their minimums are, but you've literally broken it down to, if you just have average conversion rates across the board, if your ratios are normal, here's exactly how many appointments you need in order to make 100K or 500K a year. And that gives people something to commit to. something to shoot for and something to say, look, this is what I'm committed to this week is my combination of 4 buyer or seller appointments. And that's what I'm going for. And if I don't get that, then I know something's wrong. And I know, then you feel the pain of that, which is a big part of the system is you have to commit to it. And if you don't hit it, then you feel the pain. And then you figure out, okay, well, something needs to change, and you can just figure out what needs to change. And so, yeah, that's there's another component that you touched on briefly, which is kind of getting okay with the chaos and focusing on the right things. And I think that's a hard thing to do because we want to feel on top of things. But the most important thing to feel on top of is not the minutia. It's not the email box being cleared out to 0. The most important thing to be on top of is new business development. Because if you don't do that, then all the other things don't matter.
Right. It won't matter at all. And I know that you're going to give me some pushback. I know you're going, sure, but nobody's going to refer me if I drop the ball. I'm not saying go drop the ball. I'm saying you may need help with taking care of that aspect. If your clients need to be have a conversation every single day, then you need to either put shortcuts in place like slide dial, voice broadcasting, or videos. We talked this morning on every morning our clients get a call from us at 8 a.m. And I suggested write out your entire process and everything that your clients expect, kind of what I had just said a few minutes ago, and figure out the shortcuts. How can I make this easier? If there's something that you say to a client all the time that you hear yourself saying over and over and over, very well scripted, then put that into a short video and make sure that they get it along the process. That keeps your service level very high without you having to do it, and it duplicates and clones yourself. How many times do you say, I just need a clone to keep up with all this business? Well, that's how you do it. You clone yourself through these kind of systems that create shortcuts, and video. Video can be your best one-sided friend.
One-sided relationship. And I've gotten into that myself. I like Facebook Messenger actually, where you can record like short 15-second videos. So I've started to instead of plunking out like a long email to a client to update them on something, I'll just write out kind of the bullet points of what needs to be said, and I'll record a short Facebook Messenger video and just whisk it off to them. It's great.
Love it. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Just keep those kind of shortcuts in place, but look through your whole system, your whole process, and figure out, where you can make those shortcuts and actually give a better level of service to your client so that you can have that time to spend getting that new business. Otherwise, you're going to have peaks and valleys. And one of the things that you said, Matt, is you got to feel that pain, right? After that commitment, and hey, you only hit 3 and you didn't hit that 1. I have found that embarrassment is such a great motivator. Mm-hmm. So figure out a way for it to embarrass you silly. And I promise you, you're going to get, if you need 4, you're going to get 5. Because we can kind of shrug off a lot of emotions, but embarrassment is one that we really don't want to get near. We don't like to be embarrassed. We can even disappoint and let people down, but embarrassment is a huge, huge, huge motivator. So, capitalize on times that you've been embarrassed before and say, this is how I'm going to feel if I don't hit my 4 this week. Mm-hmm. And the best way around that is schedule 6, because you're going to have people who cancel on you.
Yeah.
So these are, just kind of your first steps, the metrics that you really need to shoot for each week. And then the rest of your time needs to be filling those appointments. And I don't want you to cheat yourself. I don't want you to say, well, this person is listing with me and they're going to buy whenever their house sells. But if their house has not sold, then that's not really a client yet on that side. It is, but it's still business waiting. So don't count that as an appointment. Only count that listing as an appointment, because the house may never sell.
Right.
So, and the listing appointment itself is already calculated in your ratios, your conversion ratios. So don't cheat yourself. Be honest, and that way you'll be guaranteed to hit this income. All right, so the next thing, we're just kind of like moving on here. We're going to get together your lead generation systems. because you have to have those leads coming in order to convert those into these appointments. And, what top three do you want to choose? And I say three because you could actually have one that generates you that $100,000 income or $500,000 income. You could have two. But it's good to at least have three. You don't really need any more than three. And until you are completely mastering these three, don't even think about another one. See, I just saved you a ton of money. Every time that phone rings with another salesperson trying to sell you the latest, greatest, it only takes one and it'll pay for the whole year. Then you can say,
it's funny you bring that up. I did a whole video on that for the Lead Gen Scripts Objections Facebook group, just about that one phrase. I hate that. If it just does one, just brings in one deal, it's worth it.
Well, you can one deal yourself right into the poorhouse. So
yeah, you can. Well, yeah, and it's not just the physical hard cost. It's mostly the mental cost and it's the opportunity cost, right? So everything, and I get on Greg McDaniel about this all the time because he's one of those let's do everything guys. But everything you say yes to, you're saying no to something else, even if it's saying no to doing something you've said yes to at the right quality level to get the results that you want. And I think that's where people miss out is they're like, yeah, but I can do this. And then I can also do a little bit of this and this and this over here. And they think it won't affect the core of what they're doing, but it does. And every single lead generation lever needs consistent rhythmic action to get that momentum going so that it starts to pick up and you start to get more return on your time and your resources that you put into it. If you never put in the time and resources to get the momentum, you destroy the opportunity to really profit.
Thank you. That was me blowing kisses. Yes. Okay. And here's the deal. If you want to go out and get Boomtown, that's fantastic. But do you have your database marketing plan in place? Because there's no need to go over and spend $2,500 to $3,000 a month on a heavy lead generator that's going to take a lot of time involved to follow up and convert if you don't already have your database plan in place, because that's your quickest way to money. You need to have that on autopilot. So that really needs to be your number one lead generation plan, because if somebody always loved to use, these big dramatic analogies, I know that you're surprised, but if somebody took your kid hostage today and you had to sell a house in order to get your kid back, you wouldn't call Boomtown and give them $2,500 to get started on a lead generation system. No, you would start calling every person you knew. So if you needed to make a difference in your business immediately, today, right now, then that's what you would do. You would start contacting every person you know and who knows you, because everybody knows somebody who needs to buy or sell a house today. And we want to talk ourselves out of that because it sounds way too simple, but it's really the truth. So that needs to be, I welcome that to be, encourage that to be everybody's number one on their lead generation plan. And, what all do we do for them? What do we send? We don't want to send 52 emails. We don't want to send a ton of stuff through the internet, because then we'll just become white noise and people will forget us. We want to love on these people and give them tremendous value and gifts and things that they would be excited to get that has your name associated to it. Again, use that power of embarrassment. I'd be so embarrassed if they got an email from me every single week. Those are for people you don't know. Yeah. These people, you want to be thinking about, how can I love on all my friends except they're better than your friends, because they've all probably deposited, $5,000 into your bank account at one time because they've been past clients, right?
Yeah. So none of my friends have ever done that for me. I need to start hitting them up.
See, they're better than friends.
That's right. No, I like that though. That's a great point, is that everybody is looking for the easy button in terms of automation. And I'm a big fan of leverage, and there's a lot of things that you can do with systems to make life easy on yourself. But that's one of the things that your communication with your database, it can be systematized. It cannot be authentically automated. And those are two very, very different things.
Well, yes, they are. And so you need to be loving on them systematically with your own personality.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way that, like you just said, that's authentic. Once you get away from being authentic or sending just such canned stuff, again, these are your friends that deposited a large amount of money into your bank account. Um, they'll know when you're not being authentic. They'll know when you took a shortcut. And this is where you don't want to ever take a shortcut, ever. You want to send the best stuff to these people. Think about what you like to receive, and then build your list. Right now we're in the process of building our clients from January to December. Every single thing that our clients are going to be sending out and reaching out to their sphere of influences. Um, a couple emails per year is fine, but you want to send things like gifts. What's a gift that you could send that's very inexpensive that will always be in their house? One of the things that, and it sounds cheesy, but it's 55 cents and it's a jar opener. And it's useful and it'll stay in the kitchen forever and a day. And it fits nice in a personal note card. So I'm a huge fan of stuff like that, because people are excited to get that. No, it's not, free tickets to the Stones, but it's something that they'll be happy to get because you thought of them, and it's going to stay around the kitchen for a long time.
Actually,
Now,
the can opener would be more valuable to in my life than tickets to the Rolling Stones, but that's okay. Just my personal preference.
you can eat,
Yeah.
and so you don't have to watch.
But it's funny you talk about like systematizing communicating with your database, and I'm sure you remember this because you're always a big proponent of Michael Mayer, and we mentioned this on the show before that he didn't use anything fancy, to remind himself of who he needed to follow up with. It was all just built into his Google Calendar. When he wanted to follow up with somebody, he would go to that day on his Google Calendar. He would add an all-day event, call so and so about blah blah blah. And then every day he would just open his calendar and he had, 5 or 10, whatever, of those little reminders stacked up at the top of his calendar. And now it doesn't have to be anything, complex. And I think we get ourselves tripped up a lot by, well, if I'm going to do this, then I need to do this. And we go from 0 to 60. Like, well, if I'm going to drive a Lamborghini. Can we just start with the Ford Escort, please? Even a Ford Fiesta will get you to where you want to go. Maybe not as fast. It'll still get you there. So let's start with that. And it's stupid things like that. We trip ourselves up on things like that so easily. And I think CRMs are a big one because if you pay attention to the different Facebook groups for real estate that are out there, that's one of the most common questions. It's either what lead gen system should I use or what CRM should I use? The answer is pick one.
Well, I agree. And then log back into it after you've paid for it.
What is it? It isn't magic. It doesn't just run automatically once you pay for it and sign up.
But I can tell you this, that I have lots of $300,000 income producing clients that don't have a CRM. They use an
That's
Excel
crazy. That is insane.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, Jeff Cohn was that way, made 6 figures his first couple. I mean, he ran his entire business off a spreadsheet for 6 years. Yeah, it's insane to me, but it is possible.
And the reason it's possible is because all of that other stuff gets too chaotic and you can't handle it. And so instead of it working for you, because maybe an agent, like for me, I wouldn't get a Mac for years because I did not want to slow down and learn how to use it because I thought there was this huge learning curve. Okay. Well, I love my Mac. I still don't know how to use the shortcuts, but I deprived myself for so many years just because of the time I thought I was going to waste with it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's probably what a lot of people feel about their CRMs. Like, I don't even want the time to have to waste and think about learning something new.
Yeah.
Now, once you do, it's going to be probably the greatest thing that you've ever done in your business because it manages everything. And if you were worried about, where we get caught up with staying scattered is contract to close
Mm-hmm.
and staying in touch with your client. That's what it does. That's what
Yeah.
your CRM again, you could hire somebody that does that for you. But if you're just not there yet, and being able to afford that, you can still use an Excel spreadsheet. It's completely fine. So you have to use whatever works for you, because you got to forget about all that other crap, right? Just forget it and go. You got to fill your calendar with appointments. So thank you for talking about the Google Calendar, because you said the secret words, right? It's on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And the follow up is, the appointments are, and I use my Gmail calendar. Love it. It controls, everything in my life.
Yeah, I was gonna say I hadn't really thought about it, but I don't use like I have HubSpot CRM and use it for storing information, notes, and stuff like that. I don't use it for reminders. I go super old school and I just book it on my Google Calendar. So I go, a month out, 2 months out, whenever they tell me to follow up, cut the appropriate time period off of whatever they say, and then book it in my calendar. And yeah, it's I hadn't really thought about that, because there are ways that I could build that into HubSpot, but I don't open that. I don't have that religiously up on my computer. 100% of the time, I always have my calendar open.
Right.
Yeah.
Me too. Right now, one of my windows open is my calendar right now. So anytime I can just click over and put the next thing in, and it doesn't get through the cracks. Mm-hmm. And you can also do it from your phone as well. So again, it's easy. It's one of those shortcut systems that keeps you organized. Yeah. And mostly productive. Mm-hmm. So after you've figured out, at least 3 times a month, how you're going to systematically stay in touch with your clients. And, I'll give you just like a couple of ideas quickly. If you want to go and look at one of a bonus video that we did, we're doing right now the 12 days of business planning. And on day 1, we have an entire database marketing plan that we've created for one of our teams from January through December. Take a look at it, and it'll give you some fantastic ideas and it's free. So it's just out there hanging on our Facebook page at Good Real Estate Life. And it's on our business page. All right. So if we go to choose our second lead generation source, and maybe we do want to include, maybe we've got a Zillow account. And right now, lots of people have been asking, should I get a Zillow account? Should I not? You don't have contracts with them now. So it is easier to say, I'm going to step up and I'm going to go ahead and get in the Zillow game. And, okay. I'm going to get this many impressions. You can even look to see how much of the market of those impressions other agents are buying. And if it's a highly competitive area, zip code, then expect to pay a lot. So again, you'll end up loving on that database for far less than you will on Zillow. And I have to tell you, one of my $20 million clients, she's going to hit just over $20 million this year. Of all of her sales that have happened this year, only one has been from Zillow. And she spends a lot of money on Zillow. Really? They've all come from her farm and from her sphere of influence. Okay. And that's a lot of business. It's a lot of sales, and I think she's spending somewhere around $1,500 to $2,000 a month on Zillow.
She's getting that's one deal a year.
Yep.
Good Lord.
Yes. Now, at the same time, I did business planning for another group last week, and in his first year, there was a guy there that has closed 22 transactions his first year, which is fantastic. 17 of those have come from Zillow. So he's in his right mix. He is using his best lead generation source. So you have to find the ones that are best for you. But, start with your database. Then you can go, maybe it's farming that you want to go after the certain neighborhood, or maybe it's just all social media. You're going to, have that third lead generation system be on Facebook ads, or, anything that you can do on social media. Matt, you introduced me to Brian in San Diego that does LinkedIn. Yep. And he gets all his business just from LinkedIn. So you can choose. There's so many different ways to make money in this business. What you might not want to do, there are some couple of companies out there that promise a ton of leads by doing Facebook ads for you. Um, and it cost about $450 a month to $500 a month, and they will produce a lot of inquiries. But what I have found from those is it takes a lot of time to call and follow up with that, and the conversion is so low. So don't be tempted by some of that. Stay with the people you know already. That's where you're going to get your biggest return. All right, so now you've simplified, right, all of what you're doing for lead generation. The next thing you want to focus on is your follow-up plan. What kind of follow-up plan do you have in place? Some of these CRMs have drips. If you put people on a drip, read the drip first. Because
put yourself on your own drip. That'd be good.
Put yourself on your own drip before anyone else reads it. Because sometimes you have to insert certain things that maybe you didn't read all the fine print, or and then it's saying, "Hey, first name," or it's going to make you look sloppy or maybe it's using words that you would never in a million years use.
Yeah, okay. It's a dead giveaway.
Yes, go back through those and look through them if that's what you use. Now, I like, again, I like the most bang for the effort and the most bang for the buck. So the first thing that normally you could do is once you have that conversation, depending on where the lead was generated, it would be awesome if you had an introductory video already saved on your phone that you could text. So it would be small enough. That means, less than a minute long. And it's just introducing yourself. Not about how many years you've been in the business, and not about you being a top producer, and not about anything about you. Just simply want to say, hey, thanks for clicking on this listing. I can't wait to talk to you. I'm in an appointment right now, but there's something really important I needed to share with you about this particular house. My number is 205-2231-044. I'm Genny with XYZ Realty, and be looking for my number. Again, I got something really important to tell you. That way they'll be looking and they'll see that you're not a serial killer. Now, if you want to do your best to not look like one, so if you have that look.
Maybe stick with the audio.
Yeah.
Like yeah. Oh my gosh, that's funny. Now, I've heard of people having good success with that. And then you're talking about like shortcuts and things like that. So on the real estate side, like my partner Jeff Cohn he gets a lot of inquiries about like the workshops and stuff like that. So he's put together, like, he found himself like sending out the same thing over and over. So all he did was on his iPhone, he programmed that in. He literally just built the text and then copied it as a shortcut in the iPhone. So you could just type a couple of letters and then boop, the whole thing pops up. So that's another option for making something really easy. So if you're not into the video thing and you want to just send some people a quick greeting, the exact same text that you would say in a video, you can do it in text. But yeah, and then you can also do Facebook message might be a great way to do that if you have people reaching out to you that way, people that are in your database already where you're connected to them, or if you can find them, if they're a lead or prospect, if you can find them on Facebook, friend request them, and then you can follow up with like a Facebook message. So there's some cool opportunities coming down the pipe.
The younger generation now, though, many of them are not on Facebook.
I know, it's very sad. Just when we figured it out, they go they just go like a crowd of minions. They go flocking over to something else.
Yes, they do. And then once people our age get over there, they'll be like, they found us.
That's right. Snapchat is so yesterday. Bionic implants is where it's at.
Oh, that sounds like my 17-year-old. Oh, please.
Seriously. All right. So we got our database system in place. Okay.
And right now we're on follow-up plan. So after you've had the conversation and you send over this kind of introductory video, it also it can be immediate. Even when you are in an appointment with someone, you can do that and not be rude. So it's not like, hey, let me take this call real quickly. You're sending that text video out that says, can't wait to talk to you. It's going to be just a bit, but hey, I'm excited about it. I'll get with you soon. And be funny if you can, not to a point of being cheesy, but, one of the video examples that I like to use says, gosh, your finger must be really tired from searching for all those properties online. Don't worry, because I can show you anything. Doesn't matter whose sign is in the front yard. But I'm in an appointment right now, and I will be back with you as soon as I can. Again, my name is Genny with XYZ Realty, right? So at least they're, they can go, oh, yeah, I have been like all day searching for stuff while I've been at work. That's okay. We love them. So that could be like the first step. So then maybe you go ahead and you make that phone call when you get finished. You may or may not reach them. Let's say you don't reach them. Then you want to send them a second text message that says, okay, I'm available now. I can speak. Here is my number, and I have information about that particular property that you were interested in knowing more about. Now, if it's a referral, you just change your language to fit that in your follow-up plan. Okay, and then what you could end up doing is looking up the rest of the pieces and parts of their address and send them a personal note card. Then you can try a follow-up, phone call in a day or so. Then you can send them a personal brochure, because a lot of real estate agents, professionals, don't have that kind of marketing material. And that's a great way to stand out, so that you can include your testimonials, you can include your credibility and faces that, people that have worked with you so that you can show some sort of track record. So it's other people selling you and you not selling yourself. And also what you specialize in doing, because it may not be a fit, and they can like wipe themselves off your list, or they can say, oh gosh, this is that person that sent me that silly video. I need to call them soon. She does exactly what I've been looking for. So I think a personal brochure in your follow-up plan is huge, and you can scale that from, doing it on your own computer very inexpensively, or you can hire a team to do it. We do that for our clients, and we can keep the order low on that, so that when you have changes, you're not ordering like 1,500 of them, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can only order a few of them. So as your sales increase, we can keep it fresh and up to date. So then, Matt, I love things that go big and a long way. You can always at this point send maybe a branding box, or you can send, a tin of cookies, or, something that says, wow, this agent took the time to do this for me. I haven't even talked to them yet. But a way to really stand out, you can go to send out cards, and they've got brownies, they've got all kinds of things that you could use if you want to do that. Or you could simply order some of this swag that's branded, like tins of cookies from different companies. They'll even send it out for you if you don't want to do it yourself. These are all those shortcuts and ways that you can stand out that I've been talking about.
Yeah.
And then I would, like, the last follow-up thing is, you can get a McDonald's cup of coffee for $1. So you can go get, what I'm saying is you don't have to go get Starbucks cards. And McDonald's is rated better in coffee anyway. Dunkin' Donuts is number 1, McDonald's is 2, and Starbucks is 3 in our country.
How dare you besmirch the name of Starbucks?
I have a Barismo, okay? So we have a lot of Starbucks around here. However, I care about your trouble. And Dave Ramsey says, stop spending so much money on coffee. So, you can take that and say, on your way into work, have a cup of coffee on me, whatever. And there's a follow-up plan. It's pretty, it's all in a package, and it's beautiful, and it makes you crazy stand out. And it's simple. And, it's something you'd be really proud of sending, instead of like some cheesy drip campaign that you've never taken the time to read over yourself.
That's right.
Right?
Oh my gosh. All right, guys. So for those of you that are watching, I can just see a few of you here. Krista, Amanda, Jeremy, Melanie. Hey, Melanie, how's it going? So guys, put any comment. I want to hear like what your biggest challenge is right now for 2017 for your business planning. What's the biggest mental obstacle or hurdle that you guys have, and let's address that before we finish out the show. So you can just put that right as a comment here on Facebook. But marketing trends, Jen, you want to get into that in the let's say last 10 minutes before we start taking some questions?
Well, I think what's real important as far as trends, or more and more agents are starting to brand themselves and not so much as a part of a company. The company branding is there, but more and more agents are taking it upon themselves to, get their own name to stand out. They're choosing their own personal logos, their own slogans that will match with their company, but not in, years past where we've seen it's all about the company. It's not anymore. It's about the agent. And really, it should be really more about your ideal client and who that is. Your branding should be so attractive to that person that you want to work with every single day of the year. Yeah. You want people that are a pain in the ass to look at it and go, I would never work with her. Thank God it worked, right? You just got rid of those people all the way around.
Yes. To attract, you must repel.
That's right. Yeah. So I think that's probably one of my favorite trends. But I mean, you tell me, do you agree that being consistent with video is where it needs to be in 2017? Because it came on strong, everybody was doing it, and then it's faded out.
Yes. So I'm moving my entire podcast, Real Estate Uncensored, over to broadcasting on Facebook Live. We can't get enough of it. It's going insanely well. As far as video for the average agent, yes. I would do everything as much as possible, like setting a goal of broadcasting once a day on Facebook Live, because that's where your demographic of second and third time homeowners are. If you want to work with first time home buyers, great. Go hop on Snapchat, have fun with that. If that's your ideal client, because that's your demographic, then great. You'll be on the same social networks they are naturally. But if you're going after a specific person, especially if you want to list homes, they're all on Facebook. So go where the people are, broadcast on Facebook. There is a technology called Live Leap, where you can take your one Facebook Live feed and you can set it so that it automatically broadcasts on any other pages or groups that you have access to. And be careful with that, obviously. It's a set it and forget it thing. So like it's not one of the things where you can just kind of determine, like every single live broadcast you do, you have to set it up and then it kind of sticks that way until you change it. So we're experimenting with that. But yeah, I mean, if you're not sure what content to post, just go watch Greg McDaniel's Facebook profile. I mean, he's the best I've seen at doing that. He's always coming up with something new to say. You just focus on the same things you would blog about, community events, client questions, and what you're doing in your business, what types of clients you're working with, buyer needs, seller needs. Those are great because they show success. And then interviewing clients on their story and different things like that. So there's all kinds of content you can put out on live video. But yeah, I do think that's going to be, I get the sense that Facebook is going to support it. From what I'm hearing, for another 24 to 36 months, they're going to keep pushing it. Like, I don't know if anybody noticed, but on your Facebook app here just the other day, they started changing it so that you have your news feed, and then right here, where that little number one sign is, in place of your friend request, that's now a video feed, which is interesting. So yeah, I don't see any sign of them stopping or pulling back on how much Facebook promotes live video, because they want people to spend more time on Facebook, and that's what it does.
Well, Melanie, also, I know you're watching, and you do a fabulous job with Facebook Live and really promoting your properties, which I think is so important because everybody then sees how you're marketing properties in unique ways. And I think that just attracts more of your ideal client. One of my clients who's brand new, he just sold his very first house. I said, go and do videos in every neighborhood in your target area. And, go through, show the houses, why people want to live there, stand by the sign. It's just a great thing for people to connect you as an agent in certain neighborhoods. And they're going to be saying, oh, gosh, I need to call him or her because they obviously know everything there is to know about that neighborhood, only because you were the one who did the video about it. My friend Jerry Pincus, he's got, a review of every neighborhood in Myrtle Beach. He's excellent at this. And so I think that's a really good marketing trend. Um, I do think that we're going to see text messaging. We're starting to get too many sales calls in text messaging. And so I think it's probably going to get worse before it goes away and gets better because people know you're going to respond to text messaging. So I get GoDaddy ones like 3 times a week trying to solicit. I get all kinds of companies now texting me like crazy because I don't respond in other ways. And that's going to make now text messaging another white noise.
Yeah.
So we don't have long that's going to work for us, I think, for the next few months. And then people are going to start ignoring us there too.
Yeah, they'll go. I think that's part of why things like Snapchat will come up and other messaging apps like that, whether it's Snapchat or whether it's other ones. But that does get you around that because they can't just contact you because they have a phone number and they can set up something to blast away at it. Yeah, if I could strangle someone at GoDaddy right now, I would, because that's about 25% of the messages I receive. I get them more than 3 times a week, and I maybe that's because I'm on several GoDaddy accounts or something like that. But yeah, it'll get worse. I mean, there's people that have great success with it, and then there's, like Greg has said, in his market in the East Bay area, which skews older, keeping that in mind. But he hasn't found that it works for them at all. Like, it actively creates animosity, and so I mean, it's going to be different in every market.
It will be, but if they know you and have a relationship with you, they welcome it as long as it's not salesy. Like, put the link to your listing and you send it and you just say, you know what, I really want to help these people move from this neighborhood and move on. Anybody you can think of that would like to live in this certain neighborhood, the link is attached. Would you forward it to them? They're happy to do that for you because you have a relationship. If you don't really know them that well, they're going to get pissed.
Yeah.
So it would be very careful with how you use that in your follow-up plan.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. I want to get to Melanie's question here. So she says that her biggest challenge is putting together the top people to include in her list. She's scrolling through hundreds to pick from. How do you set your criteria for who to include in your list? And I would assume that would be like the database follow-up and your consistent follow-up list.
Okay, that's a great question. Everybody gets confused on that. And if you have any little tiny bit of C in your profile, you're going to overthink every single one of them in your sphere of influence. Well, they're not going to be buying. They already sent me somebody. You're going to find every way to talk yourself out of it. First of all, it may be budgeting that you want to have a certain number to scale. For every 150 people in your sphere of influence, you should be able to earn $100,000 by, living on them systematically in your own personality. So let's say you wanted to earn 200,000, then you're going to need 300 people in your sphere of influence, and add 150 people per each extra 100 that you want to earn. And that's all based on $150,000 average sales price. If your average sales price is higher, then you don't have to have as many in there. But I like to live in reality instead of going, it's easy, just sell $1 million house. And so what you want to do is, let's say you're shooting for 300. Then you want that 300 to be, people who know you, recognize you, and you know them and recognize them. So you don't have to have a close, tight, intimate relationship because you're training these people to be foot soldiers in your business. You're training them to be your sales and marketing team. And you can't do that if you have zero relationship with them at all. For instance, if you had them call on a property one time on a sign call and you had one conversation and it never went anywhere, they don't need to be in your sphere of influence. You can put them on a different type of plan. You can put them on that Jackie drip that we were talking about. Yeah. If you see them every day though at let's say they're your bank teller and they, Miss Ferguson, how are you? It's so good to see you. Then you can actually add that person because you have a relationship with them. And they're going to be really good foot soldiers in your business because they see you and feel like they know you all the time. I hope that helps. Now, if you're
Well,
trying to
when you
move,
say scaling up, like for every 150 people, like, I mean, let's say you're not at the point where you have a great follow-up system in place, so you do have to be a little more careful on how you define who your database is. Um, is there just a good question that somebody can ask themselves to say, is this person in my top 150? What would be like if you were doing it right now, you're selling real estate, like who would go into your top 150?
well, first of all, if I don't like them, then they won't be put in my sphere of influence. So
Okay.
if they give
So
you
do I like them?
any type, yeah, any type of sign that they would be a pain in the behind, they're probably going to attract other people that you don't like.
Right.
So, or maybe they're just not in a socioeconomic, that your ideal client, so
Yeah.
socioeconomic status
Yeah.
that you feel you need to attract the right people in. But you have to ask another question past that as well. Are they around people that are in your socioeconomic? Because if
Jeremy says, I hope I'm on Jenny's list. I don't know, Jeremy. You might not be in the right socioeconomic status for Jenny. So we'll see. You'll get there. You'll get there.
it depends on what kind of list, right, Jeremy?
That was awesome. Melanie says my list just plummeted to 0.
That's what I love about Melanie. I was so talking to you, and I was talking about that too. You're like, never mind, scratch it all.
All right, but I do love that. So because that's very similar to the way that I define like who goes into my top 150. It's yes, are they my ideal client? Are they, coach, consultant, speaker, trainer, author? And but more importantly, is it somebody that I would want to go hang out with? And I mean like for an extended period of time. Like I went to Chicago a couple of days ago and hung out with a potential client for like 9 hours straight, including going and seeing his 5-year-old daughter's Christmas rehearsal play or something like that. Like those are the kind of people. If you can't do that with somebody, then that's a pretty good criteria. That's a pretty good way to start lopping off the dead wood.
That's true. I can just see.
Can't you
Go
just picture it? Me in like a second grade class production.
about. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one heck of a prospect there. I need to find out what kind of list that is, Jeremy. Um, I hope that helps and helps you determine that because, for instance, it could be somebody who cuts hair, but they cut, they're in a high dollar area. They're in, and I mean, not that high dollar is. I'm just putting words in your mouth, but it could be that the people that cut, their clients could have a lot of influence on the community that you are. Then you want that person in your sphere of influence and you want to develop that relationship a lot more because that could be one of your best referral sources. So it may not be anybody you even currently know yet. You may have, I've got all these people in my sphere of influence, but who are the leaders in the community that have influence on my ideal clients that I need to go meet? That I need to get to know much better there, so you can start training them, and then that would be like who's missing in your sphere of influence, and make a plan to build relationships with them and add them in as well.
Hmm.
So if you want to scratch who's in there now, Melanie, then you want to go ahead and have a plan to replace them.
That's right. Melanie says if they need me, they know where I am.
Which she tells me is that we're going to have an easy time putting her plan together with those 5 people in her sphere of influence.
That's right. That's right. We're going to work those 5. We're going to love on them. We're going to call them every day. All right. Well, that is all the comments we have to address. But yeah, this I love doing it on Facebook Live for that reason because it's the interaction is just it's a lot of fun. So anyway, any final words that you want to leave with people with?
Yes, I do, and I will brag on Jeremy about this. Is he's fantastic in staying in front of his sphere on social media. He is great on Facebook. He asks questions and posts things of interest that get a lot of engagement. We can't all be like that. He is really good at doing that and building relationships through social media. But sometimes people have to, have a long list of their client nurture plan that doesn't involve this because they're not good at that, or they're not comfortable asking questions, or they're so scared they're going to ask something and only two people answer. So they like to watch on social media instead of really say anything. But don't get caught up in only posting your listings because people will start unfollowing you like crazy.
Yeah.
You don't want to do that. Make it something interesting and fun, not listing link, listing link, listing link. Oh, boring.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like Facebook is a big cocktail party. If you wouldn't walk up and say that first thing to somebody in person, then don't make that the first thing you say on social media.
Well, good. So if you need this one-page business plan, just email me, GENNY@getarealestatelife.com, and I will email it over to you immediately. But have January planned out, ready to roll with your sphere of influence. Thanks so much for joining today, Matt. I always love you. Love the new platform.
I know. It's awesome. All right. Thanks so much, guys. We appreciate it, and we'll see you on the next one.
Bye.